Hi, welcome to the intervention for the Chapter 2 assessment. Now, for today's intervention, I'm not exactly going to be doing examples, more like clarifications on certain things that most of you guys missed on the assessment. So the first concept that I want to talk about is the difference between the transitive property the transitive property versus what is substitution. Now, when you are doing the transitive property, whoop, that looks a little too bright, much better. Okay, transitive property versus substitution. Now, they look similar, but honestly, they're not exactly the same. When do you use the transitive property? Okay, the transitive property is when you have two equations where either one of the two is equal to each other. For example, if A equals B, if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. Now this can be a little confusing sometimes because you might think that it only applies whenever you only have one of these. So I'll give you a small example here. Okay, so if I give you, for example, A plus B equals, 70, okay, and C plus D equal to 70. Now, because these two here are equal, I can proceed in equaling this expression and this expression together. That would be the application to the transitive property. It's when the whole equation here equals a number and the whole equation here equals the same number, I can actually equal them together and then continue to solve for this. Now, when is it that you are going to use substitution? Okay, so in substitution, if A equals B, then you can replace or you can substitute A for B in any equation. Okay, so for example, if you have CD equal to AB, and you have the following expression, AB plus DF plus MN, and I'm literally just making these up, okay, equal to, LX. Now, as you can see here, I am only going to be making a substitution in one part of the equation. So here, I'm going to replace this with CD plus, and then the rest of it is going to be the same. So what is the difference between these two? Here, you're only replacing a certain part of the equation, only a part of it, not the whole thing. Here, we are actually, doing the whole thing. We are equaling this to this. Okay, so that's the difference between transitive property and substitution. In substitution, you're only replacing a part of the equation, okay, not the whole equation. Now, the second part that I needed to go over was linear pairs, because a lot of people keep forgetting about linear pairs. When you have a linear pair is when you have a straight angle and you have a line kind of going like this, okay, where this angle here and this angle here are a linear pair, therefore they're supplementary. So if I were to call this angle 1, you would say, angle 1 and this one angle 2, we would have the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equal to 180 degrees. Okay, so angle 1 and angle 2 are a linear pair. Now, it gets a little confusing sometimes when you have a diagram that may look like this. Okay, so actually that's a very bad diagram because it looks like they're perpendicular. So let me just fix it a little bit. Okay, say if it looks something like this. Okay, call this angle 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so here the linear pairs are angle 1 and angle 2, angle 2 and angle 3, angle 3 and angle 4, and also angle 1 and angle 4. So all of these here are considered to be a linear pair. Okay. Now, in the third part, we need to discuss about angle bisectors. Now, technically, an angle bisector is a ray that evenly splits the angle into two congruent angles. Now, a lot of people are used to seeing it like this, and they understand that this angle and this angle are actually equal. Now, in the case that you have an angle that is bigger than 90, kind of like this one, you can still have an angle bisector where this and this are congruent. But people get a little confused when they see a straight line. Okay, now remember the angle between, well, I can call this A, B, and C. The angle between A, B, and C here is 180 degrees. So the angle bisector would have to measure half of that, which is 90. Okay, so the angle bisector is going to be a right angle. Okay, so the angle bisector of a straight angle is 90 degrees. Now looking at this figure, look where I placed A and C. Looking at it, you probably are thinking that A, B, and BC are going to be congruent, and therefore B is the midpoint. That is wrong. In order for this to be considered a midpoint, you would have to have this right here marked as congruent. So let me redraw this same diagram so you can see the difference between midpoint and not a midpoint. Okay, so here B is not a midpoint. Here B is the midpoint. So you have to focus on the fact that you need to have these markings right there telling you that that is a midpoint. Okay, so after watching the video, go back and take your retake.